There are wounds that don't bleed on the outside. They live quietly in your chest, in the silence after a cruel joke, in the look someone gives you across a dinner table, in the word they choose to describe your entire life. For my family, that word was deadbeat. My name is Mara. And for as long as I can remember, I was the one they whispered about. The one who didn't go to college. The one who married young, divorced young, and spent her 30s rebuilding from nothing. The one who never wore designer clothes to family dinners or drove a shiny car to holiday gatherings. I was the embarrassment they tolerated. My sister, Rachel, she was everything they celebrated. Polished. Successful. Married to Commander Daniel Hayes, a highly decorated Navy officer with medals I couldn't name, and a reputation that filled any room before he even walked in. When Rachel married Daniel, the family acted like royalty had joined the bloodline. And maybe they had. Daniel was extraordinary. I knew that even then. But none of that made them kinder to me. Every Thanksgiving, every birthday dinner, every casual get-together, there was always a comment. Always a moment designed to remind me of my place in this family's story. Mara, are you still doing that little job of yours? Must be nice not having real responsibilities. Some people just aren't built for success, I suppose. My mother said that last one. At Christmas. In front of everyone. And she laughed when she said it, like it was a harmless joke, like my face didn't just quietly collapse behind my smile. I never fought back. Not once. Because fighting back required energy I was using just to survive. What they didn't know, what none of them knew, was the life I was actually living behind the curtain they'd drawn over me. For 11 years, I had been working in humanitarian logistics. Quietly. Without announcement or applause. I coordinated aid operations in conflict zones, disaster areas, and forgotten corners of the world. It was my nephew's graduation party, a beautiful afternoon at my mother's house, the kind of event my family dressed up for like a magazine shoot. I arrived quietly. As always. The moment I walked through the door, I felt it, that familiar shift in the room. The polite smiles that didn't reach eyes. The way conversations didn't pause for me the way they paused for others. My aunt pulled Rachel into a hug like she hadn't seen her in years, though they'd had lunch the week before. She nodded at me like I was a piece of furniture she'd forgotten to move. I told myself it was fine. I had learned to make peace with being invisible in that house. Then my cousin Brett, 32, loud, always performing for an audience, raised his glass during the little informal toast before dinner. Here's to Marcus, he said, gesturing to my nephew, the next generation of this family's success. Lord knows not all of us set the bar very high. He looked at me when he said it. Laughter rippled through the room. Gentle, polite laughter, the kind people use when they want to join in without technically admitting they understood the cruelty. My mother didn't correct him. Rachel looked at her phone. My nephew, sweet, uncomfortable Marcus, stared at his shoes. And something in me just exhausted itself. Not anger. Not tears. Just the final crumbling of a wall I'd been holding up for a very long time. I set my glass down and walked out to the back porch. I stood there in the afternoon air, breathing slowly, reminding myself of who I was outside of this family's version of me. That's when I heard the sliding door behind me. It was Daniel. My sister's husband. Commander Daniel Hayes, still in his dress uniform because he'd come directly from a ceremony. He leaned against the railing beside me, looking out at the garden, quiet for a moment. You okay? He asked. I'm fine, I said. The reflexive answer. He was quiet again. Then, Mara. I know what you do. I've known for a while. I turn. Dinner passed the way dinners always did in that house, noise, performance, carefully arranged conversation. It wasn't until the very end, when people were gathering coats and saying their goodbyes, that it happened. Daniel was standing near the doorway, talking to my uncle. I was nearby, pulling on my jacket, already calculating the quietest way to leave without extending any awkward goodbyes. My cousin Brett was holding court nearby, already retelling his little toast story to someone who hadn't heard it, laughing at his own punchline. Some people just coast through life, you know. Never contribute anything real. He stopped. Because Daniel had crossed the room. Not toward Brett, toward me. He stood in front of me, shoulders squared, chin level, the full weight of his uniform, and his rank, and his 23 years of decorated service gathered in his posture. And then, slowly, deliberately, he raised his hand. And saluted me. The room went absolutely silent. Not the polite silence of people pretending not to listen. The real silence. The stunned, airless kind. My mother's hand went to her mouth. My aunt froze mid-sentence. Brett's smile dissolved so completely it was like watching a mask fall off a wall. This woman, Daniel said, loudly and calmly, to no one and everyone, has saved more lives than most people will ever know. I have served with generals who respect her name. She has operated in places most of us don't have the courage to even read about. She is not a deadbeat. He lowered his hand. She is the most decorated person in this room. She just never needed you to know it. He turned, shook my uncle's hand, kissed Rachel on the cheek, and walked out the door. I stood there in the silence he left behind. I didn't cry. I didn't look at my mother or Brett or any of them. I just picked up my bag, smoothed my jacket, and walked out into the evening air where I could finally breathe. No one called that night. It took 3 days for my mother,